Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody. I've got a couple of calls about people that are coming late, so I'd like to start by having an introduction of everyone. I'm George Topol. I'm chairman of the committee and commissioner on NERC and Union Township trustee in Porter County, Indiana, which is the township just south of Union. So, welcome. Kathy?
My name is Kathy Luther. I am the director of environmental programs. Not usually in this meeting, but I'm subbing in today. Our economic development director is at the National Association of Development Organizations.
Hi, I'm Flor Baum, NERC staff.
Hi, I'm Lois Whitaker, the president of Black Chamber of Commerce in Northwest Indiana.
John Mackerson, the Porter County Surveyor.
Meredith Still on NERC staff.
Doug Ross, Post Tribune.
Robert Cotton, City of Valparaiso.
Heather Presley Town, Club 720 Solutions.
Rodney Harris of JP Oil.
Heather Ennis, the Northwest Indiana Forum. Grace Benninger, NERC staff.
Tom Glenwood,
I got a call just recently from Andy Vasquez. He is on the way. He was tied up at another meeting. He will be in attendance very shortly. But I guess we could. I guess we can go through the minutes. Any questions or any comments on the minutes? Okay, we can either approve it by acclamation or we can, well, let's do that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Moving right along. Economy in Place 2.0. Resolution 2513, cooperative agreement with the Fort Wayne Housing Authority to participate in the Hoosier Homes Home Buyers Assistance Program. Heather Presley Cohen, Hoosier Homes Program, actually requested, recommend to the commission. NERC's current long-range plan for Northwest Indiana 250 plus the comprehensive economic development strategy have both identified the expansion of housing choice in Northwest Indiana as a goal. Fort Wayne Housing Authority and the City of Valparaiso have been working together to bring home buying assistance program Hoosier Homes to Northwest Indiana. They are seeking authorization from NERC as the Regional Council of Governments. The requested authorization does not bind NERC in any way, and there is no financial obligation or contribution required from NERC. Heather Presley Cohen of Hoosier Homes will present information on this program. The committee is asked to provide a recommendation to the commission to adopt resolution 2513 and to enter into a cooperative agreement which will authorize FWHA to offer the program in Lake Porter and LaPorte County. So, Heather?
So everyone should have a little handout on Hoosier Homes.
Would you like to come up to the podium? Or
okay, sure.
Wherever
yes,
you prefer.
I'm sorry. So I understand there may be questions, and I'm certainly willing to answer anything that I can here, but you have the brochure for Hoosier Homes in front of you, and I thought it'd be better to leave it as a leave behind. You can actually visit club720.org /Hoosier Homes if you want to see the information, active information. But just a little bit of background. Actually, my relationship to Ty Warner goes back to around 2019 when Ball State and I had formed a relationship to go out and teach communities across the Midwest about how to tool their housing systems, their housing delivery systems. And interestingly, today we've made it virtual, probably because of COVID. But so what we do is we help, Club 720 Solutions goes out and helps communities to actually understand their housing market needs and then to put their systems together to be able to right-size housing production. So making sure that we have enough of the housing buyers want to buy and renters want to rent, as well as making sure that the systems partners are all connected to that. Hoosier Homes is a lead tool that communities are using right now, and certainly the city of Valparaiso has done a housing market potential analysis that aligns, I think, really well with the Regions initiative, using Hoosier Homes as a tool in conjunction with Club 720, our platform, which is an educational tool for buyers and renters who want to actually move to or around within the region, is a great opportunity for you to understand your market in action really on a daily basis. So understanding that the city wanted to see this initiated, what typically happens is if a city initiates a program like Hoosier Homes, it turns it on just for that city. The way Hoosier Homes works, and you can see in your brochure, is it's offering up to 5% in down payment assistance to buyers who earn up to 140% of area median income. This is fully workforce type wages. So in somewhere like Valparaiso, probably on the higher end, it might be in the 140,000 a year range, let's say. In counties where maybe wages are a little lower, it might be in the $90,000 a year on the buyer alone. So it's a wonderful tool that doesn't cost communities anything and is made widely available with government authorization. It is tied to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and it's actually funded through the bankers that are involved in this. Stifel Public Finance is our co-administrator. So Club 720 is out there telling the buyers and educating them about the program, bringing them on, communicating their wants, needs, and desires, and then connecting them with the resource. Stifel Public Finance is on the other side, making sure that those mortgages are affordable, that these are not, the interest rates don't tick up over that. Obviously, that wouldn't be in alignment with our mission. But they're also working with the investors that say, because this typical type of home buyer is going to pay off slower, it's a great investment opportunity, which allows them to keep the interest rates low while also offering up to 5% in down payment assistance. So Valparaiso would like it. I'll tell you, we launched this way back in, I want to say 2018, 2019, originally with a different master servicer, and the city of Gary signed up at that time. It is still on the city of Gary's website. Again, a city can sign up, but when you turn on a program like this, you get lenders who want to offer it. It's much easier for them to do business when we don't have to figure out, are they inside or outside of city limits. So a regional authorization makes Club 720 a tool for your region. We can give you quarterly reports on who's coming on, how much do they make, where do they work, where are they coming from. An example of that is Cook County, including the city of Chicago, is one of our clients, and we can see how we can see buyers coming into Cook County. They invested $10 million, about $8.6 million in their program most recently, and actually that program was so important and so powerful for their jurisdiction that within 30 days, we saw over 2,000 home buyers come onto our platform, and it closed. The good thing about Hoosier Homes is it does operate on the day-to-day. It rides with the mortgage market, so some days it may only be 4%, some days maybe only 3%. We do encourage regions to invest in it if you choose to. Northeast Indiana put $2 million into it. It's helping those buyers get the full 5%. Today, what we're asking is for the commission to consider authorizing it for the region. Authorization would be through a resolution that we've offered to tie, as well as it would be a cooperative agreement with the Fort Wayne Housing Authority, which is the lead authority in the state, that county by county or region by region we can sign up. And so they qualified under Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's requirements in order for us to do that. And so each county that signs up signs a cooperative agreement with them on that. So with that, I'll pause and ask what questions you may have and how we can help you to make this decision one way or the other.
I think we have Representative from Valparaiso. Would you like to have 3 minutes to ask a question or?
Well, as far as asking a question, I have vetted this program so well for the past 2 years now, I believe, that I don't believe I have any outstanding questions. I do note that in my diligence, I've noted that there's an administrative function associated with down payment assistance programs that I don't think you touched on. but I do believe that that was an area of concern that was resolved with regard to what Hoosier Homes does in making this a seamless, easy-pleasy additional product for banks, lenders to put on their shelves. And quite frankly, I was shocked at how underutilized and how vacuous the current down payment assistance programs actually are in our community. So having an additional product that is actually not necessarily, I mean, again, like I say, I don't think it's in conflict with anything that's on the shelf. It complements very well and perhaps has a greater amount of motivation. I'm making a statement. This goes to a question for people who might even market and make folks aware of its presence, if you will. And that would be our role here with the Valparaiso Community Housing Partners, an evolving nonprofit entity that is intending to create what we don't have and historically have not felt we needed, and that is a housing delivery system, a system whereby with this capital stacking method that we're pursuing, we create a circumstance where the housing so-called crisis in the missing middle of the market is something that we can resolve without city engagement other than with the incentives that we might offer, like we offer already, but oftentimes those are offered to people to developers who are doing things outside of that missing middle, that 60 to 120% of the area median income. Usually the incentives that we've given for some of the big projects in Valpo when it comes to residential have all been exclusive to this market that is so important for economic development in the context of employers wanting to relocate here and having the ability to know that they've got that section, which nothing has been done in Valpo. I mean, I say virtually nothing as it relates to developer interest. No incentive, and we're trying to make an incentive and actually facilitate it with what used to be called a high performance network, but that's a holistic piece that helps people get a mortgage who qualify for it. I'm not trying to give anything away, you have to qualify for a mortgage, but then the holistic piece is through Hoosier Homes, helping them keep that mortgage and building a very good, solid, well, I was very happy to hear that. I think there was a recent expansion of what your program does in Cook County. I've heard in the news.
We have 3 minutes already.
Tony, correct me.
Go ahead,
Give me
30
three, I
seconds
think
to close out.
I don't have any questions. I just beg this commission.
Well, that's fine.
I beg the commission to do what Ryan Keller did down in central Indiana, southwest central Indiana, and has been going gangbusters with the approval, and this is added in his region that's similar to Jersey. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Scott. Okay, any other questions?
I do have a question. I referenced to you said that this program is stackable with other programs.
Yes, it is.
So when you said that you're paying up to 5%, is there a second lien or something that's placed on the home for a period of time? Can you
Excellent
explain that?
question. Yes, it is a second lien, and it burns off over a 7-year period. So it encourages the buyer to stay, build wealth, and build equity over that time. So 1/84th per full month that they live there, every 1 month, they're going to burn off 1/84th of that amount. So that would mean at the time that they sell, the goal would be that they would have nothing to pay back because they stayed the 7 years, but it would be prorated if they were to sell before that time. That's a great question. Another thing I'll add to that is it is stackable in many different ways, but you're with a chamber. So it's we have a Keys to Retain program where employers can actually add an equity third lien position by offering 2.5% more to their employees. And then when that employee sells later on, 20% of equity would be returned to the employer. So we really want to treat this as a true workforce housing tool.
Okay, I wish Andy Vasquez were able to be here on time, but maybe when he gets here, maybe you can talk to him briefly about what we discussed. And I know he's on the way, but he was delayed for another meeting. So Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, thank you so much for coming and sharing. So the actually requested here is to recommend to the commission. I think we can do it with 3, can't we? Yeah, we will do it with 3. So if I may have a motion from the floor? Yeah. Okay, we have a motion from Lois, second from John. Okay, is there any further discussion? If there are no further discussion, shall we take the vote? All those in favor signifying by saying aye. Aye. And any opposed? There's none. Motion to recommend to the commission is approved. All right, next on the agenda is Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, update for Chicago metropolitan statistical area, presentation of buildings. Kathy Luther is going to present this for information.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning. If any of you were at the Transportation Committee, the intro section of like 3 slides you may have seen before, but the rest is all going to be new. Oh, wait. No, that's the wrong one. I just leave it. Oh, okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about the climate planning at NERC and what we've done in the past 5 years, and then I'm going to talk about the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan for the entire Chicago metropolitan area. And then the buildings segment is commercial and residential buildings, energy, and land use, which clearly is within this group's kind of purview. And so I'll talk a little bit about where we're at with that, the modeling results for the building sector, and some of the strategies that we'd like to present in this plan. Note that this plan is not in any way legally binding. At this point, I think it's very aspirational, but it does kind of outline the strategies and how far, what we'd have to do to get there. And if anyone here has any feedback on, because it's significantly different, I think, in Indiana than Illinois. One of my roles in this project is to explain the authorities and options that we have in Indiana to implement some of these. So we'll talk about all of that. So some of you may remember we started doing climate planning at NERC in 2021. And then in 2022, we kind of put a pause on the climate plan to incorporate as much as we had to date in the transportation plan. So that the chapter 23 of Northwest Indiana 2050 Plus is largely about the beginnings of climate planning in the region. And then after that, we took a detour, and because EPA offered climate pollution reduction grants. And those grants that were implementation grants, but in order to qualify for implementation grants, you had to have a priority climate action plan that could be done on the state or MSA scale. And so we elected to go in with CMAP on a MSA scale planning effort, so ours is sort of still detoured into that. So this project is funded by the US EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant. And what we've been doing since then, we've established some guiding principles. We created a greenhouse gas inventory for the region, including Kenosha in Wisconsin, the 9 counties in CMAP's planning area, and then Northwest Indiana NERC's 3 counties. We have identified strategies to reduce emissions, estimated how the strategies impact emissions and how they impact communities is underway. And then the plan is due to EPA on December 1st. So I'm taking the different sections around the different committees so that they will at least be somewhat familiar. So we're more than halfway through. We have one more deliverable after that, which is a status report that is due in 2027. And they have continued to fund this planning exercise. What will happen after that? We don't know, but we'll have this information. And in our case, I think partnering with CMAP and using this grant gives us a lot more capability to increase the quality of our modeling and work in that area. So economy-wide for this 13 county area, in 2020, the total greenhouse gas emissions were 152 million metric tons per year, that year of 2020. I will note this is all modeled, so it doesn't take into account actual changes that may have occurred through COVID. So 2020 still is an okay year to do that. We had inventory 2017. We came out with about 55 million metric tons, so that's about a third of the 13 counties, which seems reasonably balanced as far as closeness. The distribution is a little different over the 13 county region. The emissions fall almost a third. 36% is industrial, 35% is buildings, which is commercial and residential, and then 26% is transportation. All the other sectors that it could be agriculture, wastewater treatment, solid waste management are less than 3%. And so we are putting sections of that in the plan, but we organize working groups around the three big sections. And I just put the chart showing our inventory, which is a little bit different because our industries don't get to be spread out across as many counties. So the economy-wide target for the entire area in this plan is to get an 80 to 85% reduction of gross emissions by 2050 within the whole area. And from the EPA grant guidance, we're targeting that reduction from 2005 levels. So we get to count reductions that have already happened since 2005 and 2020 towards our goals, which is good. And that aligns well with the targets already set by CMAP in Chicago and our plan. Our plan is net zero, excluding the industrial sector. So that's comparable. And no, that doesn't account for any sequestration from natural areas or any future engineered sequestration solutions. So between 2005 and 2020, we had a reduction of 39 million metric tons, or 20%. So that leaves an additional 65% that we need by 2050, which is about 125 million metric tons. All these numbers kind of wash over you, but I wanted to show them all. So as we plan emission reductions and create a scenario, we have a current policy scenario, which is more or less business as usual. Now it's business as usual starting from 2024, so there are some federal policies that maybe have been timed out or backed down from, but we're keeping them at this point for modeling purposes. But we have three scenarios: the business as usual scenario, a plan implementation scenario where it's only state and local governments implementing and there's no federal action, and then the combined of all the sectors necessarily implementing. So with our current policies in place, we think by 2050 we get to about another 36%. With state and local activities or options, we get to 59%, and then if you combine them with maximizing federal action, you get to the 86% reduction. This is what we're modeling as possible. So now to drill down into the building sector, we're going to talk about five different strategies for decarbonization, adopting more electric appliances and equipment across the sector, increasing building envelope and operation efficiency, which seems like the easiest because it just saves everybody money, but that's off the top of my head. Maybe not as easy as because things are already there. Changing land use patterns, which is something we talk about at NERC, we've been talking about for the entire last 20 years that I've been here. Integrate renewables like rooftop solar, and using low carbon building materials. Those are the main kind of sections of strategies we include in the plan.
Excuse me.
Kathy, you have a question?
Yes.
Does
John?
this model include cogeneration as one of the carbon reduction methods?
There's some, well, I think that's more in the industrial sector, that there may be some cogeneration.
So residential cogeneration?
Well, I think the integrate renewable energy, like rooftop solar, that is in this section,
Okay.
but not necessarily, are you meaning like with natural gas and water, hot water? I'm not sure. That's the answer to the question. I will look into it.
And the smart grid would be tied into that also. Typically, if you have residential generator running, the heat would be used for hot water and space heating, but the electricity may be surplus to their needs and would be presented to someone else through the grid.
I think that in general, electricity generation is very complicated because demands are increasing. It requires the whole grid improvements that are happening at a different scale. So CMAP is committed to working forward with ComEd and NREL in Chicago. They're going to keep going with a longer term working group around electricity generation.
So maybe the next phase.
Yeah, that's a next phase. I am not sure if NIPSCO is a participant in that, and it's one thing I want to inquire if they want to participate in it.
Councilman Vasquez?
Something that recently came in our neck of the woods is data centers. They're using an enormous amount of electricity. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun in regards to commercial end, but we can do all those things and fine, but our grid right now really isn't, we couldn't put 2 or 3 data centers out.
And that's part of what this longer range electricity demand and generation working group is going to talk about, because also, all of this requires switching a lot of stuff onto the electric grid, vehicles and a lot of other power drains and data centers. So we're cognizant of that. We're cognizant of we're not really fully accounting. We try to account for increases in demand, but that isn't going to be solved in this plan that is due December 1st, but we're aware of it and we have a plan to work forward on it. So the building objectives that we were able to model are reduction in average heating demand of buildings, increase in weatherization of existing residential buildings, increase in weatherization of existing commercial buildings. So we kind of ran 2 tracks all along, residential and commercial. Increase in the sales of electric heat pumps for residential space and water heating, and for commercial and space and water heating. And increase in the sales of induction stoves for commercial use. We're not fully able to model the integrating renewable energy into buildings and increasing the commercial and residential use of low carbon materials and refrigerants with low global warming potential. So that part isn't really included in the model. So if we still would encourage those activities, then that would just be extra value add. So the initial in the residential emissions reduced by 26%. With electricity related emissions are down 54%, driven mostly by cleaner generation and the introduction of more renewables into the grid, and also by lower energy appliance standards. But natural gas related emissions seem pretty stable. We don't think that those, without more action, that wouldn't really change. And in the commercial area, emissions were reduced by 12% during that 2005 to 2020 period. Electricity related emissions went down 36%, but natural gas related emissions increased. So for the scenarios that I'm going to show you graphics for, the current policy includes Illinois has a Climate and Equitable Jobs Act with electricity generation emissions rules and stringent targets. So a lot of this is going to happen in Illinois by regulation, and assumes the federal Department of Energy efficiency standards for appliances will continue to be in effect, that the Inflation Reduction Act incentives will continue to be in effect, which I think is not actually true, but that was when we did this part of the modeling. and that we're phasing down HFCs. That's all the business as usual. That got that first decline in the top line of the graphs before. And then for plan implementation, we incorporated strategies or policies that have been adopted in other states or other cities and have had a difference. So, and some of the pathways that are included in other reports. So the University of Maryland did a study of pathways to 2035. There's a E3 Illinois decarbonization study for electrification, which is the ongoing Illinois discussions, and increasing more renewable gas energy. That's in the plan implementation. The state and local portion is NREL potential scenarios. Building performance standards, that's been adopted in Colorado with a lot of success. That's one that I don't know that anybody is talking about here in Indiana. Weatherization incentives is common for low and moderate income homeowners. Heat pump incentives, Massachusetts has adopted those. Colorado has a clean heat standard. Oak Park, Illinois, and New York require all new construction to be all electric homes. And land use changes are based on forecasting throughout the region that we do in all of our other planning, but it does assume a shift in greater housing density, which reduces the overall heating footprint, energy footprint. So just for the building sector, we get a 30% reduction from the business as usual, a 75% reduction from state and local possible implementation, and then 94% reduction if fully implemented with all possible policies, including federal incentives. And this is just showing then the building piece of the economy-wide reductions as the green and yellow boxes as we go through. So with business as usual, again, we get that 36% decrease by 2050. With implementing all of the possibilities in the plan, we get down to an 85% reduction in the total. So the residential sector starts out with, in 2020 with 26 metric tons. So single-family heating was 53%. These are kind of the things that are maybe noteworthy, whereas multifamily heating is 10% of residential emissions. So that's where the density comes in. We can move more people into multifamily heating. It's just a lower emissions per person or unit. So with the current business as usual, most of the reductions are in electricity from lighting and appliances due to equipment, but heating would continue to grow, primarily with the single family housing continuing to grow. And then by 2035, maybe we phase out, with the state, if the state and local governments choose to phase out sales of non-efficient gas furnaces and boilers, increase in heat pump adoption, and adopting building performance standard for multifamily buildings with at least 5 units, you get a 23% reduction. Again, that's mostly down in the appliances section. Still, the heating piece doesn't really, single family house heating does not get much reduction. And even at the full plan range, that sector remains fairly large. But we want to move into future all-electric space heating and continuing the building performance standards. By 2050, those same Illinois clean energy requirements will have them all on clean electricity by 2045. Single-family heating emissions would still go up, but at a lower rate. And more of the subsectors convert to more efficient equipment. just gonna jump ahead to the full plan. If all of this stuff is implemented, we get to a 93% reduction. Here's where the weatherization of 50% to get there, we would have to have 50% of all the homes retrofitted and weatherized, heat pumps and electric, like cooktops and dryers would have to be 100% of all new sales by 2035 to get there in 2050. And so really the big chunk that's left are the existing single family homes that haven't been retrofitted to electric. So all of that, especially the discussion of housing, this is a very heavy, this is to say what would happen, this is how we can foresee getting there, and the only way we get there is if all of these things happen and fall into place. We are not necessarily saying that would happen. Does anybody have questions about this part?
If I may.
Yeah.
You had some assumptions that are based on the Infrastructure Act, and this is related to climate change reduction. Is that a component that has now been extracted from the discussion with regard to the new policies?
I think we tried to do that by having that state and local policy only piece, by separating that out to show that even without those things, the state and local policy could still happen. Basically trying to separate out what states and local governments could do without any federal action. So we didn't really, it was cost prohibitive and time prohibitive to go back and remodel all those things, but we separated it out so that you can see that, so that the federal part accounts for 36%. So if it doesn't happen, you could still get the other percent if all the other ducks fall in a row.
And what role does NERC play in helping to, bring about the ducks falling in alignment for the state of Indiana? What role does NERC play with respect to the legislature in bringing forth that?
In the building sector, we really don't have a very active role other than education, information, maybe matchmaking communities with tools if we find them, and promoting. We're planning to work with the different sustainability committees and commissions that have been adopted around the region to see if local governments can adopt things. But it's a very different playing field here. We don't have state legislation that they have in Illinois. We don't actually get to have local building standards. Those are controlled at the state level. So really our only lever on this, from NERC's point of view with our current setup, is through education. Although we do continue to work with the land use planning piece and for transportation reductions, which is the third, remember the 3 blocks. So the best handle we have is on the transportation sector. We don't have a lot of control. We only have education and outreach and tools and matchmaking kind of things that we can do.
Thank you.
Vasquez.
Well, kind of addressing your concerns there. We have county commissioners and county council members who are on this board, and commissioners can write ordinances in regards to how things are constructed. A good example of that was we had a solar farm that was interested in the Morgan Township area, and the ordinance was, I guess, basically redone so that the solar farm didn't qualify, if you will. So while they are small things that we can do, there is some influence by those members being here on NERC, which does help to some degree. And so that's not the best.
Helping to some degree is great, but
Well, and
there's a lot of things that have to fall into place to get to the 85%.
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Which is why we have so many different members in this organization that are aligned with different communities politically, and so with one mind, hopefully, approach, we can get these things done.
Thank you.
I do think the idea of building performance standards may have more, because you can't, the building code is controlled at the state level by the fire marshal's office. But you could set building performance standards where we'd like new buildings or new commercial buildings in our county or our city to be this percent electric and this percent energy efficient and this percent, and there's reasons for that. NIPSCO, data centers, increasing demand. We need to control this. And especially energy efficiency, to me, that's a win-win, right? It saves the homeowners money or the business operators money. I think there could be opportunities for incentives. I know that there's different types of incentives that redevelopment commissions can offer to businesses and TIF districts. I don't know if they could do energy efficiency improvements or loans or grants. It seems like that would be they're doing all facade loans or facade grants, and that looks great. Can you do something to help the business save energy? I don't know, because I think it has to be in your plan first, but I think that in Indiana, those kind of approaches, more than regulatory, are going to have more potential. So I'm talking on and on. So this whole other section, set of slides repeats for the commercial. This presentation was presented to our buildings committee, and that's why I'm putting it for you. And I don't necessarily, I'm trying to highlight the key activities that are driving these reductions. It's the lighting and appliances, reduce a lot of the electric emissions. The space heating emissions continue to grow, but the lighting and appliances continue to go down. But performance standards, I think commercial is another place where it's easier to put in those performance standards. We're putting in the Amazon centers all over the place. Could we have performance standards for those kinds of buildings?
We have a question, I guess.
Our guest was your guest.
Oh.
Waiting
You have
for
to
Mr.
give that
Vasquez
part?
Oh.
to address any questions that he may have.
Oh, yeah.
had.
Could we,
With deference to her time.
I think that's an excellent idea. Kathy, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all.
Okay,
I'm
Heather,
so sorry.
any questions for Heather?
On the memorandum of understanding recommendation to align with the Fort Wayne Housing Commission. It's first item on the agenda.
Right. Bring you up to date, we have agreed to recommend to the full commission, or to the commission, or the board, that the agreement from NERC and Heather's organization, the Fort Wayne Housing Authority, that's going to be recommended for Hoosier Homes. And the reason NERC is involved is that they are a Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission and federally designated economic development district. Tom, did you have anything to add to the comments before Heather goes?
Yeah, just that NERC is being asked to authorize this program because we are the Regional Council of Governments, and that's a requirement for the program that if they want to expand to a county level, that they have to have authorization from that regional COG.
Well, it's really just that you just have to have a jurisdictional authority, which you've been found to have. And if you authorize at a regional level, it covers all of the counties, which makes it easier for lenders to administer to your buyers.
And she doesn't have to go to all 3 county councils.
Or city.
Yeah, or 40,
Yeah.
26 cities.
5% of
Yes, it's up to 5% in down payment assistance. And at the regional level, we can give you quarterly reports so you can see what your production looks like as your counties roll it out, so.
And then I would just add that this was covered by George as well, is that by entering into this agreement with Fort Wayne Housing Authority, we're not binding the agency into any financial obligation. We have no administrative role at all, so we simply authorize it, and then by doing so, it allows them to expand their work. And then I guess the other thing I would add is that one of the reasons why we brought this forward as an option for the commission is that the NWI 2050 Plus comprehensive plan, which was adopted in 2023, has a very robust housing analysis, and it shows that there is a need for expanding housing options in Northwest Indiana. So this aligns with some of the goals and the policies that we've already adopted as an agency.
And it does make me think of a question I had. So, but can the jurisdictions can put funding into it, is that, so Cook County put money into the down payment assistance? So by us authorizing this regionally, any of our jurisdictions could choose to do that.
Yes, I mentioned Cook County, Northwest or Northeast Indiana, the Strategic Development Commission that covers 11 counties authorized it, put $2 million in for its 11, and then Terre Haute just decided we'll put $500,000 into ours. So it allows them, that's a good point, to invest in their own programs.
So a community who wanted to do that wouldn't have to create something new because it's already there. We've given them a vehicle.
And lenders sometimes want to know, can I be involved? Banks want to know, can I be involved? And the answer is yes. We want them to. So tell them to go to our website and sign up. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Heather. We're sorry to have to leave so early, but we appreciate you being here, and thank you for your information.
Thank you.
And of course, now you have an approval or a recommendation, approved recommendation from this committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to the rest of the story. Here's Kathy.
I was just gonna say that the commercial sector mostly duplicates. Some of the biggest drivers here are federal appliance standards, driving efficiency, so that's a possibility that may change. But I think like ventilation standards and other standards could be established, or they could be part of performance standards. And a lot of this reductions in this fed will end at Illinois' clean electricity transition. And there's a big thing about commercial cooking transitioning to electric or induction ovens. So the key takeaways are space heating is still the largest source of emissions across both residential and commercial buildings, which makes sense because it's cold. It's cold here in the winter. But the other thing that's the hugest challenge in my mind or hurdle is that because of the lifespan of devices, in order to achieve the goals of 2050, we have to get to 100% electric sales by 2035, which seems like a really big jump. And weatherization and density shifts boost decarbonization by improving building efficiency for more housing units, especially when it's multiple family. Okay, there's a bunch of other key takeaways. We need to increase the sales of electric heat pumps, increase weatherization of existing buildings, increase in sales of heat pumps, and reduce average heating demand by 2% per year, basically, starting in 2026 to get there. So some of the things, looking at all those strategies, which I just read off a lot, but the electrification, weatherization, which of those would it think to this group that regional collaboration are needed to accomplish that, or is it all kind of local driven? Or which seem the most likely to have traction here? I mean, I went off on my opinion. I don't know if anybody else has thoughts about that. All the weatherization is construction jobs.
That's what I was thinking, like, maybe talking to developers and people that's going to build new housing.
The hard part with developers is they're looking for bottom line. That's it.
Some rebates.
What we do TIF areas and things of this nature, maybe some type of incentive we can do at a county level, city level, that would incentivize our builders to go in this direction. So they have to make it on top of my head real quick, right? So
I mean, do you think
we got to make an incentive for them to want to build in that manner.
Right.
Let's face it, that once again, they're looking at their bottom line. And
Right.
so if we do something that can help offset that some way or shape or form.
It seems like long term, reducing energy emissions in your building helps you keep the business. I feel like it might be a business retention policy too, especially if the electricity costs can increase because of demand and the stuff that electricity generation has to do to keep up.
And you know, rising costs for these.
Mm-hmm.
We should help to offset some of those costs in the long run, right? So maybe have something where this is how much it's cost, or this is how much you'll save every year
Mm-hmm.
on this, on your bill, maybe that's.
So barriers are we are much more they're market driven. We tend to let the market lead, and the market will go to the, sometimes, especially investor driven, will go to the immediate returns instead of the long term. That is about the limit of my economics training from graduate school. And then I actually, like, who would be critical to implement, and then what could be a role for NERC? Is it model ordinances? I mean, we've done that before. I don't know how many of the communities actually look at our model ordinances. I'm thinking more about the sustainability committees and commissions and advisory groups would be our main audience to start working on that. Maybe there's model ordinances for building performance standards that we could share.
Well, the last one was critical to implement policy programs and what could motivate them back to the incentives, our local RDCs, building commissions, plan commission, and so on. I don't know how many of them know in what direction that we NERC want to go and for the benefit of our citizens in the long run. So maybe that's something that the commissioners here who comprise this group at the county level and city levels is take this information back to their building and plan commissions and so on, and advise them, you know, this is a direction that the organization would like to go, and how can you help us? Because it's not going to go anywhere unless you have those individuals who make the rules or, you know, give the permits and so on.
So like the building commissions and redevelopment commissions
Yes.
are probably the primaries for all of this. That's
Maybe some of your CDCs as well.
okay. That's pretty much what I would like to do, but thank you. Just so that is not true. 6 months to go. See, this presentation is a couple months old. It's due December 1st, so I'm going to take that feedback into my part of what can we do with the Indiana authorities and leads. And we're vetting with stakeholders and working groups. And we've done some public engagement workshops, and we did one with our environment committee, and we've done one in Michigan City, and I think one was done in Gary by Calumet Collaborative. And then, so we're trying to get a draft to our steering committee by late October. And then we're planning to basically give just a Word version, kind of texty version to EPA by the December 1st deadline. And then because we're working with CMAP and they have an entire communications and graphics department, they will help us make it look prettier than what I just showed you. And hopefully we'll be then using that to complete our regional plan that I am hopeful to take it up next year. Any other questions? Thank you. That was long. Thank you for sticking with me. I think I'm supposed to go back. Nope. Am I supposed to go back to the other? Nope, I was supposed to go to this.
Any further questions for Kathy? Seeing none, thank you, Kathy, appreciate it. Very thorough presentation. I'd like to thank, first of all, before anyone else departs, is there any other comments or questions about anything in particular? Hearing none, then I will mention that there's Partners for Clean Air meets on Friday, which is a nice organization for those of you who might be interested in staying in touch with that. Kathy and I will see each other on Friday morning. And then the Porter County trustees meet next Thursday. It was this Thursday, but due to unforeseen circumstances, we are going to reschedule it for the following Thursday. That's for those who need to know. And that's the part that I always support, is the unknown quantity of the rural areas, so that we stay in touch with things that are going on throughout our counties. And I'd like to let you know that the next Economy in Place meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 14th, 2026 at 10 o'clock. And we'll celebrate my birthday on that day, so.
Shameless plug.
That's right, shameless plug.
Or just bringing refreshments for everybody.
Any further questions? Seeing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
See, you did that too soon. I said, you want me to bring flowers for you? I mean,
Say again?
I said, you want me to bring some flowers?